So, good evening, everybody. Here we are. Time to comment on your comments. Let's see what we've got. And I think we start here with Sean. In my country, due to national service, we know this word well. Okay, to skive. We will see certain people who are experts in skiving. I would probably say experts at skiving off duties if they can, especially obvious during national service. Okay, thank you, Sean. And, okay, high count. Primeval instincts were rooting into our behaviour. I would probably say were rooted or have been rooted into our behaviour because of this since. Primeval instincts have been rooted into our behaviour since the primordial times of humanity. Lovely, thank you, Count. And VG, my pleasure, and VG again, and Mr. Music. Actually, I don't mean this meaning, and I mean I can't describe the beauty of this child artist singing. I was sure of that, but that's why you've got to sometimes be careful of what you're saying, because you need to get the right meaning, Mr. Music. And you have the right to see what the president of Ukraine did heroically. I think no. So, you have the right to see as heroic what the president of the Ukraine did, because otherwise this heroically refers to did. You have the right to see as heroic what the president of the Ukraine did, despite others seeing, I would say, it as a betrayal and destruction of his country that could have been avoided with wisdom and impartiality. Okay, that's very good. It also depends how you see things. Yeah. I know the Russians are being the Russian media is accusing the media of propaganda, but I'm pretty certain the Western media is also full of propaganda at the moment. This is a war that they want to make the Russians look bad in, whereas they forget many other wars that are just as horrible. And Ossital, thanks. No problem, Ossie. Great to have you watching. And Navanitha, hi. There is a primeval dormant volcano which is now beginning to become active and spewing out a swill of smoke into the air. Thank you, Navanitha. AK. Looking perfect has been a primeval proclivity of people. Yes, since the beginning of time, I would guess. So what's the difference between cliches and platitudes? Okay, a cliche is something, a phrase that is used so much that it's boring and it's lost a lot of its strength. Whereas a platitude, you're saying something to please somebody, to get them to be relaxed, to effectively you're kissing up to them, you're buttering them up. Yeah, platitudes, you're saying what they want to hear, and platitudes don't have to be cliches. Yeah, and I think that's the idea. Platitudes are boring and repeated again and again. Thank you, Mohammed. And McLovin. BBC Primeval was my favourite show in childhood. I stopped watching it after season 4 since NHK stopped distribution, and I couldn't find DVDs at the video rental shops. Now I really want to finish it. That would be good. And McLovin again. The moment he pulled out a knife and tried to terminate his life once and for all, but somehow, I think it's the general structure. In the moment, he pulled out a knife and tried to terminate his life once and for all. somehow his primal instincts awoke and the desire to live surged in his mind. Very good. And Mohammed, gnashing one's teeth, you grit one's teeth. I think gnashing one's teeth is when you wish you hadn't done something, whereas gritting your teeth, you're getting ready for something hot and difficult. Embrace the sucks, perhaps. Embrace the sucks. I don't know this one. Perhaps gives the same nuance as these two previous ones. Thank you. And McLovin. The insider information seeked out of the company and eventually caused confusion in the market. Some people made money out of the turbulence, and as it was information, probably inside information, others probably got arrested. So, Zegud Ryan, to play truant, play hooky, skive, yes, skull, I don't know skull, I might say skulk, to bug out, definitely. And, shrink, to minimize or to atrophy, to take the edge off, to cut down. Okay, definitely. And Zegud again. Mowing, okay, mowing, crop, reap, plow, English spelling, American spelling. Harvest, cut off the additional grass on the ground, or derive a crop. Very good, Zegud. You've looked all these up. I love it. And McLovin. She was reasonably attractive. Many kinds of men wooed her ardently. Everybody, including her overly protective parents, thought she would choose this young gentleman who was in possession of a manor in the idyllic countryside. However, her heart was already stolen. It's probably had already been stolen by this humble working class man, for he was the brawniest man. It is a truth universally acknowledged that women in their 20s love brawn over brain, as no women or men have full control over their primeval instincts. Very good. And here we go. So, Slow Sunset, good to see you. So, dear sir, could you kindly review my essay about the best way of spending a grant from the National Arts and Culture Board? So, let's have a look. Okay, it's not that long. Art has always been a prominent factor in our lives. Good. It has been present for many centuries now, and it encompasses so many distinct forms, such as the music we listen to, the paintings we so heartfeltly adore, to the clothes we wear. So you need a from here. So, let's see. It's been present for many centuries now, and it encompasses so many distinct forms. From the music we listen to, or such as the music we listen to, and from the paintings we so heartfeltly adore, to the clothes we wear. In this essay I will discuss the most beneficial manner of spending a grant which was provided, would be better, by the National Arts and Culture Board. First and foremost, in order to ensure the provided grant is put to a good use, we have to fathom the principal aim, or I would probably say the principal aims of such a grant. For instance, is it to entice tourists or to promote local art? These differ quite considerably, as in order to entice tourists, a statue of a national figure might be the preferred choice, while if our intent is to promote local art, an art gallery would unquestionably fit better. Furthermore, it's also important to be aware of the hurdles we may face when choosing how to responsibly invest the given grant. An example of such would be if your intent is to build a statue that pertained to a national figure, who would be responsible for choosing? I think for choosing it. Who would be responsible for the choice? Who would be responsible for the selection process? A blatant response could be the locals themselves. You need a bit more. A blatantly obvious answer, a blatantly obvious response could be to ask the locals themselves. However, it essentially boils down to what is a very opinionated response, and it may not align with what our initial goal was. And it may not align with our initial goal. Yeah, lose the what and was. With our initial goal, which consisted of which was to provide a more appealing city to outsiders. On the other hand, not in, an art gallery might precisely fit our needs, although it must be financially sustainable due to the fact that it would require specialized art, employees, and regular maintenance, as opposed to something along the lines of a national figure. To sum up, art is universal. It reflects our deepest sentiments and our perspective of life. And to come up with such a way of positivity and safely invest in it takes quite some diligent planning and thinking. This last paragraph doesn't read too well. So, to sum up, art is universal. It reflects our deepest sentiments and our perspective on life. Full stop. In order to come up with a solution that reflects positivity while safely investing in it will take some quite diligent planning and thinking. You want to think about this one. It's just this last part from about here. Review about the best way of spending a grant. Okay, so have you answered the question? I think you need to also decide directly which of the options that you've been arguing about you should go for, because it's saying the best way of spending a grant. So you could review the different ways, but I think you also need to state your opinion as well. Be very careful to directly answer the question vibes. Okay? So, thank you, Slow Sunset. And, hi, great to see you. I wish I could pronounce your name. Thank you, best for me, when you explain about English words. So, it's my pleasure. Thank you for watching. To shoot yourself in the foot. Okay, so, yes, of course I answered your question. And Patricia, it goes from black to colour because death is not the end. Hence the poem by John Donne and the Hallelujah. Very good. Okay, this one's a mixed life with quite a lot of blue and turquoise overtones. Thank you, P. And the Antediluvian period is the primeval era of the Bible, before the biblical flood. Yeah, was it the biblical one, or was that Gilgamesh's flood, or was there a flood before that? Yeah. So, Ronan, in my opinion, both of them are right, each to his own. Okay, that's very good, yeah. I think very often, as in these live stream questions, if you can argue your corner properly, then I think an answer is certainly valid. And, hi P, great to see you. Sarcastique for the neighbour. The hallelujah and Purcell sounds, the trumpet, wouldn't have them for a normal funeral. Why not? Yes, okay, yes, for a normal status quo funeral. And my pleasure to answer your questions, VG. And, of course, no problems. And that's why some of my comments have disappeared from your channel. Comments disappear for everybody, even some of mine. On my own channel. Grr. Hi, 40 Love. So, flummox. Yes, Americans use it. I just heard it in an informal conversation at work. Had to look it up because this word seems formal, but it's not. No, to flummox is quite an informal word, very definitely. And VG, thanks for answering my banned from and banned commenting. Okay, my pleasure again. And bump into. That's great. No, sir, I didn't fall asleep because I found your video boring. I fell asleep because I was very tired that day. Well, you're young, VG, and I guess half the time you don't get enough sleep. Okay, hewn off. Yeah, that's the answer I gave you is more or less what I imagine is meant. Yeah. Okay, yeah, in the past you'd definitely be executed if you disagreed with the leaders of my country. Well, I'm certain 200 years ago in the UK, maybe 1800, yeah, you'd probably get executed for that, for disagreeing with the leaders, certainly 300. Oh my God, so this is Marisa Beltran. Hi Marisa. Oh my God, thank you. A plethora, a load of. And flat and smooth, that's fine. There is a plethora of words I don't know. Well, this is the place to look, Marisa. And hazardous, dangerous. Okay, that's fine. And Taz, hi Taz D. Put it on the slate. Put it on my tab. Very good indeed. Primeval, primal. Yeah, I like this word primal. Primordial, primitive, rudimentary, embryonic. Very good. Nice to see you, Mr. Music. My pleasure, VG. Living Dog. Hi, Living Dog. Good to see you, mate. I guess YouTube recommended this video because I recently subscribed to your older brother's channel. Okay, if you're into Cockney slang, then, well, there are a few bits here, but I'm more focused on more general English. And VG. Hi, VG. Hi, AK. Great to see both of you. The top of the morning to both of you. Have a great day and evening, everyone. You too, VG, very definitely. At the wedding, try to avoid indelicate comments. We don't want anyone to be upset at us. Yeah, indelicate comments like, doesn't the bride look pregnant? A shotgun wedding. And Count Beauty. Straightforward people do not think that their questions are indelicate. A spade is always a spade. Okay, that's very good as well. It's very true. I like that. You're a very straightforward guy. I like that, Count. And VG, would it be indelicate of me to ask how much you earn per day or per month? Let's see. In the UK, this is a very indelicate question. Yeah, people don't like being asked or talking about how much they earn. And AK says, no, it's not indelicate, I earn nothing. And VG says, same here. Okay, Mr. Music, I have such a primeval desire for music that my dear teacher called me the Music Man, and I'm very happy for that nice name. You deserve it. You've been working hard with my videos. That's a great thing. And AK, some people's straightforwardness, I like that word, some people's straightforwardness, uncountable, is often mistaken for indelicacy. And some people's indelicacy, again uncountable, is mistaken for straightforwardness. Very good, nice sentence. Yeah, just the is. Okay, and VG says nice sentence, and Manji says, "Wow, that's a good example, AK." Yeah, it is. It's a great one. So thank you, AK. And let's see, AK. Him laughing at someone's funeral was tantamount to being indelicate. No, not A. Was tantamount to, not a tantamount. Was tantamount to being indelicate. That's a very appropriate thing to do. Well, let's see. I don't know. I hope if I have a funeral and they don't just throw me in the rubbish, I'd be very happy that people were laughing. Yeah, I'd rather that everyone wasn't po-faced and upset. Yeah, I think they ought to go out and have a really good party. That's what the Irish call a wake. So, AK, tell me about it, VG, but sometimes you cannot help it. I'm afraid I once did that. I watched a sitcom before showing up at someone's funeral and ended up laughing loudly. I think that's very funny. Thank you, AK. My buddy, mate, was quite indelicate to me today because he felt jealous when he saw me talking to his friends as if we knew each other, as if we had known each other for a very long time. Okay, this is Danny Dollars. Great to see you, Danny Dollars. Thanks for watching. And AK. People still believe that a boy child wanting to know the purpose of sanitary pads, not bads, pads, is indelicate. In my opinion, there is nothing wrong with telling them about pads. I quite agree with you, AK. I think it's something that both sexes ought to know about. Yeah, not some things for men, some things for women. We need to know about everything about each other. Okay, VG. To avoid being indelicate when asking one's age, try saying, "Would you mind if I ask your age? How old are you?" The person you are talking to might feel a bit more comfortable and a bit less worried. By the way, on the internet, you can also find people saying, "Would you mind if I ask about your age? Would you mind if I ask for your age?" Yes, you could ask for, but let's see. Would you mind if I ask your age? Would you mind if I ask about your age? Would you mind if I ask for your age? To me, the best one, would you mind if I ask you your age? No more. VG. A friend of mine compared my grandma's death with his bird's death. To me, that was quite an indelicate thing to do, very definitely. Sir, would to also be right here instead of with after the verb to compare? So a friend of mine compared my grandma's death to, yeah, his bird's death, very definitely. Let's see. Compare with is used to show similarities. Yeah. Compare to show differences. Let's see. I think you can use both, but I take on board what AK is saying. Compare A with B. What things are similar? Compare A to B. Show the things that are different. But there's a lot of overlap between these two, and I think you could use either, but I think with is probably better than to. And let's continue. Knife. It would be indelicate of you if you interfered in someone's affair. Yes, very definitely. It was very indelicate of her to go to the funeral wearing those clothes, but let's forget it. Yeah, let's let bygones be bygones. He indelicately made bad remarks about my clothes. Good English. He indelicately asked me indelicate things about my personal life. Good English. I try my best not to do things indelicately. He acted very indelicately yesterday. I indelicately made that comment and I apologized afterwards because I didn't mean to be rude. Yeah, it can often just slip out of your mouth. Yeah, and you've said it already. AK. Isn't it so indelicate a question? I would say, isn't it so indelicate? So, It was so indelicate a question that I didn't dare ask it. Isn't it so delicate a question that? So isn't it a very indelicate question to ask what I was up to in the restroom? Isn't it obvious? Very good, AK. And I would say the loo as opposed to the restroom. The restroom's very American. Hi Raja, great to have you. So let's say if a caterer goes to cater for a funeral, at the end of the day they have to leave and get paid. Some people just refuse to pay up front and wait for others to ask them to pay, making the other person sound indelicate. I've seen many examples of such cases. Me too, yeah? There are also some people who are very happy to pay up front and others who absolutely hate it. And whoops, this goes further. So what's the difference between the words to cultivate, to farm, and to grow when talking about growing plants, fruits, and vegetables? And if possible, what's the difference between the nouns agriculture and farming, please? So they cultivate sugarcane, limes, oranges, and tomatoes. They farm sugarcane, limes, oranges, and tomatoes on that farm. They grow sugarcane, limes, oranges, and tomatoes on that farm. Let's see, in all of these three cases, the meaning is the same. I think cultivate is a more formal and technical word. Yeah? They farm is talking about the farmer doing farm work, and they grow is probably the most informal and most general, but I think they're all the same. Agriculture is the country's biggest industry. Farming is the country's biggest industry. So let's see. Agriculture, is agriculture only arable? I think agriculture is only growing things, whereas farming, you could be a beef farmer, or you could be a milk producer. That would also be farming, or eggs, or things like that as well. So I think farming is more general, whereas agriculture talks about just growing things. Thank you, VG. Good question. And Freddie Mercury, great name. All right, Gov, I have some words, and I wonder if you could please clarify them for us. Here they come. Communism, socialism, capitalism, and fascism. Obliged in advance. I'm pretty sure I've got a video on this. So let's see. Communism says that everybody should own the means of production. Yeah, this should be something owned by the state, and the state belongs to everybody. Socialism says that it is more looking after people, providing for the poor. Yeah, it's really like a watered down version of communism. Capitalism is the free market, and people being able to make as much money as they can, and private ownership of capital, and private ownership of the means of production. And fascism, I think fascism, be good for it. I'm going to say it's a dictatorship where somebody says you've got to do exactly what I say. It's like a dictatorship. I'm going to think about a good definition of fascism, because that's a good word to be able to define. Thank you. And Manji, hi Manji, great to see you. I've strictly forbidden my pupils to ask any indelicate questions to the new student about her background, because she's an orphan and a most unhappy one. Okay, that's great English. Yeah, poor thing. Yeah, she's obviously very traumatized by it as well. And AK, are you a teacher? I often run up I often run up against such indelicate questions from my fellow classmates because I'm the shortest of all of them. Yeah, but I have a feeling you're probably also the smartest of all of them as well, AK. Here. And Manji says, don't pay heed to them, dear. They must be jealous of your cognitive abilities. I quite agree with you, Manji. Yeah, AK is clearly very smart. So, yes, maybe they've got brawn, but you've got the brains, and the brains, as far as I'm concerned, are much more important, AK. VG, would you tell me the difference between the verbs to apply to and to apply for when talking about jobs? Okay, so you apply to the company, but you apply for a position. So I applied to IBM and I applied for the job of Chief Executive Officer. Yeah, apply to the company, but apply for a position. And I think that's it. That was easy. So, Manny, hi Manny. I'm boggled about what kind of person would do that. I love the word boggled. Having been invited for Thanksgiving, he behaved as a Philistine, tactlessly drank himself to oblivion, and indelicately blurted out sexist and racist remarks. Poof, that must have been a nightmare, Manny. Yeah, he probably invited himself as well. At that point, you just want to be really rude and say, look, the door's over there. Go through it, please, and don't come back. Okay, let's see. We've got some more here, very definitely. And, okay, just a few. And mannequin. There is a Primeval museum 20 miles away from me. You will find all the great African art there. You see, Primeval, I think Primeval goes further back. Yeah? I think Primeval art would be something from, maybe I'm thinking, are the cave paintings in Altamira Primeval? I think Primeval goes back to the very beginning. I think you're talking about things that are much later. There's a Primeval house on my block. I do not know how the house is still standing. No, Primeval is at the beginning of creation, at the beginning of the earth, or at the beginning of the universe. Let's see, mannequin, let's try this one. An indelicate question is, when was the last time you got into a heated argument with your wife? It's also a leading question. Who says I ever got into an argument with my wife? I was a very indelicate student. Good. We all said indelicate things. Let's stop political correctness. This one is perfect, mannequin. And Azam, hi Azam. Thank you, sir. Your illustrations are so excellent that everybody, even with the latest knowledge, can learn new words easily. So nice of you. Thank you, Azam. And we'll give you a heart as well. You see, okay, it is going to post. I'm lucky. VG, even though there's a small difference between subtitle and caption, people use them interchangeably on the internet. Can I do the same thing? Yes, I think nowadays you can. I think these two words are moving together. A caption is like a sign, whereas a subtitle just says what somebody said. But I think you can, because I'm pretty sure YouTube is using these two words as the same meaning. They're using the word caption, yeah, meaning subtitle. Okay, thanks. The continuous continual. The most important one of those, continuous doesn't stop. Continual, it stops, but it goes on and on and on. It repeats itself. And That's why I have continual doubts, questions about the use of some words. It's very normal, VG. Yeah, you will always have continual doubts, but probably not continuous ones, because one comes and then another comes and then another comes and then another comes, and well, that's the way of language learning. The more you know, the more you know you don't know. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.